Hey guys, it's Haley from the Modern Ferret, and we have some updates with our ferret enclosure in the backyard. We had somebody very important visit us in the last week and give us some important feedback. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And we also collected some really cool enrichment items for the ferret. So let's get started. I want to show you guys some stuff. For the last few months, I have been sketching and sketching and sketching different ideas for this enclosure. The biggest thing that's important to me is I really want to try to incorporate mounds that we can plant on top of, but then also put tube systems underneath. And I think if we use the right tubes, they should drain properly anyways if we get rain, and then the ferrets can explore every time we come out here. Because as many ferret owners know, ferrets love to go in tubes. I don't know anything that they love more than that, and I want to give them as many opportunities as possible to do that. We've had a few smart, important people weigh in on their thoughts on this project. Number one is I am friends with a few zookeepers, and one of the primary functions of their job is knowing exactly what each of the animals that they care for needs as far as enrichment, safety, all kinds of things. We went to some home gardening supply stores recently. We picked up a couple cool things. So number one is we got more tubes. We already had a lot of tubes. We had like one 25-foot long one, but you can never have too many tubes when it comes to ferrets, so we got some more. And then we also picked up some orange construction tape, which is that ribbon you see. And I was able to plot out the ideal path that I want to make for this ferret enclosure to give kind of a winding pathway that we can walk through, and then also the ferrets can kind of get lost in these plants that we want to put there. So I'm trying really hard to incorporate natural plants to the climate that we live in. One, because it will be relatively low maintenance, but then another reason is, I want to see the natural beauty here in Nebraska and see what we have. We are looking for plants specifically that provide kind of a jungle experience for the ferrets. These are some random ones we have growing on our property right now, but it's kind of cool because the ferrets can get lost inside of it, kind of make their own pathways. I'm sure other animals run through this throughout the night and get their scent all over it. Another big decision we made is we have decided to expand the ferret enclosure to the second tier. So originally, you see we have 1, 2, 3 tiers in our backyard. We were gonna have the ferret enclosure just be that last third, but then we thought, I think the ferrets deserve more backyard than we really need. So we are now gonna expand it to the second one and give them that whole space, which is about 200 more square feet. I don't know, a big amount. The biggest thing that happened this week is we had a landscape designer meet with us to talk about our ferret garden project. It's a really big deal because even though I know the space that I want to plant, as well as the general path that we want to do, I have absolutely no idea what I should actually plant and how I should arrange those plants so that everything looks great and it thrives. At first, I thought that finding a landscape designer would be relatively easy. In my mind, a ferret park is not a super challenging or odd project to do as far as a landscape designer goes. It's essentially just a pet-safe garden that's completely enclosed to keep the ferrets in, with like a couple of tubes here and there. Not too weird, right? And yet we spoke to 2 other landscape companies who were completely turned off with helping with this idea. It's really too bad because I would hope that creating a unique solution for a super unique client like us could actually be kind of fun. It'd force you to think outside the box in ways you'd never considered before, but maybe that's just me who secretly has always dreamed of becoming a zoo exhibit designer, where you learn about the super abilities of an animal as far as how their brain works, and then you design a space specifically for them. Maybe that's just the kind of thing I'm into. That's not what landscape companies are looking to do. Whatever, I digress, no big deal. The landscape company we did end up going with was so into this idea of a ferret park, and that really made my whole week. It really validated this thing that we're trying to do. To come up with an entire landscape plan, complete with the exact plants we needed to plant and where. Shout out to Lincoln Landscape Company for their incredible work on this project, and a huge thanks to Sheila in particular. I basically told her my vision and dreams for the space, and then she's like, anything else? And I was like, oh, that's right, it's actually not for people, it's a ferret enclosure. She's like, what? And so I told her that we needed a fence to keep the ferrets in, and we needed to make sure that we had all of our plants approved as pet safe. So that's been a huge push for us. She was really excited, and she said, go figure, in the 11 years that she's been a landscape designer, not once has anybody asked her to design for ferrets. So we'll see what she comes up with. I'd like to end this video by showing you all an awesome enrichment item we just acquired, as well as some basic tests we're running to prevent the ferrets from digging under the fence. So we saw this ad online for somebody that was giving away free hollowed out tree stumps. So naturally, we grabbed a couple of them. They weigh like 3 billion pounds, and we want to add them to the ferret enclosure. So now we're going to figure out how to dump them out of the truck onto the yard. So this is probably the favorite thing we have picked up so far for the ferret enclosure. It is this giant hollowed out log that somebody was giving away for free online. It is amazing for ferret enrichment. They love to climb up it. It's got this great texture up here, and they go inside, and at Wise, it's got all these different pathways they can go. I cannot wait to put enrichment items in here. Look, Newt's gonna test it. And then, I don't know if you can see, but there's also one back there that's just half of a hollowed out log. And we're gonna use it as like a little bridge or someplace that the ferrets can go under. So this, I love it. I don't know what else to say. I love it. It's incredible. We are gonna be on the lookout in the next couple weeks for more items like this that we can add for enrichment for the ferret enclosure. He left. I should probably get him. When the ferrets are not in their enclosure anymore, it's a perfect opportunity for other animals to come play in the log and get their scent all over it, which provides amazing enrichment for the next time ferrets are gonna see it. What do you think? Like I mentioned in a previous video, the ferrets love to dig under the fence, which would mean they could get in our neighbor's yard. Particularly, they love to dig right here. I think it's because there's some kind of rabbit or rodent nest on the other side. And we have been brainstorming ways to keep the ferrets out. So the first thing we tried, thank you Nudie, is putting rocks here. But, as Newt will probably demonstrate, turns out they can just get around the rock, so that wasn't the best idea. Pardon me, sir. Next thing was a brick, and that has actually seemed to work pretty well. I'm gonna let him dig for a little bit longer because it's making him really happy, and then I'm gonna show you guys how this brick works. That bird's really small for being that loud. It's literally like this big. I think he's mad that he sees this guy. I don't think he likes him. This is the neighborhood cat, Calvin. And he is very interested in the ferrets, but we always make sure to supervise. Do you smell Calvin? I think you smell Calvin. A lot of sounds today. Okay. You did so good, Nudie. I'm so proud of you. Dig up all the things. These aren't working that well to keep the ferrets out from digging under, but, sorry, hold on, so sorry. But bricks are working pretty well. So let's have Nudie demonstrate. Come here, Nudie. Try to dig that. So he's not really showing it right now, but he's not able to dig under this brick because the brick falls. Of course, we need to double check this, but this is our latest idea for how to keep ferrets from digging underneath the fence. So worst case scenario, we could always use one of these. They're really heavy and really massive, and as it turns out, when we dig up all these plants here in this big weedy garden, they said they're gonna take off like 1 to 2 feet, maybe 1 foot. And so it's gonna be much lower. And when that happens, it may be a perfect opportunity to put something like this and block the bottom of the fence. So stay tuned on that. We haven't found an ideal solution, but we are still looking for one. Another thing that Channing picked up from Home Depot was this. It's a gutter guard that goes, on the roof with the gutters, but we thought maybe we could bury it part of the way so that it covers the fence. So that's another option. So we're still looking at a lot of stuff. Since the last video, we have put up a piece of chicken wire to keep the ferrets out, and it actually works pretty well. They can definitely climb this, and so we need to figure out something to put on top, be it a PVC tube or a piece of plastic I've seen, so even if they climb up to here, they can't get much farther. So we need your guys' ideas on what to do for these fences. This pile of trash is one day going to be the enclosed part of the ferret enclosure, which means we could leave the ferrets here overnight. It will be 100% enclosed like a full cage. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we want to have as much enrichment as possible. We could put a hammock here like we have now, or we've thought about maybe stringing a little ferret bridge between these two trees. We moved our seating breakfast dining area to this back corner because when we sit here, we can survey the entire ferret enclosure much better. And it's actually a really nice spot to eat and spend some time. Our temporary solution for covering this gap is literally just stacking cinder blocks. If we weren't watching the ferrets, they would easily climb it and get over, but at the very least, it's a barrier right now, so we have time to get over to the ferrets if they get too interested in this area. We still need to find something that will completely cover this area so that even if they wanted to, they couldn't get in there. All right, that's it for today's check-in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you could please leave your ideas in the comment section below. We need ideas for this big space. We want to share it with everybody when it's done. And the only way we can make it incredible is with your ideas. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. And if this was weaselly the best thing you've seen all day, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on that bell so you can see our latest update with this awesome ferret enclosure. All right, I'm gonna go play with Nudie. You ready? Let's go.